Look at just everything that you have right now. What are you wearing? Where you're sitting? How you're sitting? Who you're sitting next to? Like, you yourself are a brand. You're selling yourself, you know? Like, they're investing in you. They believe in you. So she really taught me, like, she brought out my, like, love, my subconscious, like, love and desire about, like, branding.
Support your friends is a personal mantra which Samuel Krost lives by. Samuel took his experience in fashion at Onya and Helmut Lang to create a youth-inspired brand centered around social activism.
Wait, so your parents are both actors?
Yeah.
What was that like?
What was it like? I mean, growing up, you just have, you know, people on your kitchen table being sewn up after school. I think the biggest lesson that I take from my father is, if you're passionate about what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Right? I know he loves what he does. He doesn't look at it as work. He really does love it. So I called him, and obviously, you know, having grown up thinking like, oh, you know, you're gonna take over your family practice. I called him. I was like, listen, I don't want to do this. And he said, he's like, I support you 110% no matter what you want to do. And we had that conversation, and after that, that summer I switched from the College of Arts and Sciences into the sport management program, which to me was, it was a business program, but you learn business through sport, and I knew sports the best, so I said, okay, you know, never really studied business before. And I took that route, and my first class in SPS in sport management with Professor Zotos, she came in, you know, with her, you know, persona, first class, and she's like, look around, look at everyone around you. I'm like, okay, everyone's looking around, everyone's looking at each other, and she's like, look at the way you're dressed, look at the way you're sitting right now, you know, look at just everything that you have right now. What are you wearing? Where you're sitting? How you're sitting? Who you're sitting next to? What you're doing? How you speak in this class? Like, you yourself are a brand, you know? I think that's what people underestimate. Like, when I was going to raise money for my first time, like, I'm building another, you know, clothing line. Like, who needs that, you know? You're selling yourself, you know? Like, they're investing in you. They believe in you. So she really taught me, like, she brought out my, like, love, my subconscious, like, love and desire about, like, branding, you know? I started a men's luxury swimwear brand. Onya. I became very close with the two founders. It was a very small business at the time. I just wanted to have a foot into the space, you know?
Right.
And I loved clothing. I was, like, definitely a luxury whore, you know? And through that experience, I was there for about 2 years. I got my next experience of being able to be part of a serious fashion house at Helmut Lang, which had discontinued its men's division for 8 years, and got to be part of, like, a 3-person startup team within a multi-million-dollar business to kind of relaunch this, you know, collection, which was an incredible experience.
Do you remember how you got into that company?
Yeah, so Onya, we had a trade show, I think in Vegas or something, and the founder of this trade show, he's one of the investors in KIF, and I created a nice relationship with him. And then I was actually abroad. I was living in Spain, and I got a call that this was happening at Helmut Lang, and that they wanted me to interview for the position. So I flew back from Spain, went to New York for a day, had the interview, and I flew back the next day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're at Helmut Lang for how long?
That was 2 years as well. 2 years. So I did Onya 2 years, then I did Helmut Lang for 2 years, and then I graduated college, and I actually worked for Onya full time for like 6 months.
And then what?
I didn't like sales. I also never wanted to work for anybody. That's the truth. My experiences at Onya and Helmut Lang were all about understanding the scope of the industry, knowing that I was going to one day go off and do this on myself. I wanted to know about every single department, how every single thing is interrelated and interdependent, how this ecosystem of the business works. Not even subconsciously, but I knew that my purpose within these experiences was to just learn the scope of the industry.
So when you left Onya, what did you say, okay, I know exactly what I'm gonna do now, or did you?
Then after Onya, I was like, okay, I had already been studying for like my GMAT during college as well. I was like, let me just go take the GMAT. Maybe I'm going to apply to business school. I was in NYU library again, got this call about a tech and entertainment app. I had built a good network in college. I guess people knew that I knew people, and there was this new platform that was connecting talent with buyers, and it basically creates an open marketplace. That opportunity I took, and from a team of 3, within 6 months, we became a development team of 25, which was insane. And then halfway through that, everyone knows the story. The founder tried to create a festival to promote the real launch of the app. And then tying it back into business school, having gone through an experience like that, seeing 25 people lose their jobs overnight, everything that you just worked for, trusting in people that I always thought that I had a really good judge of character, you know what I mean? To me, the most important thing in my life is keeping the right people around. So going through an experience like that, having thought that I knew who somebody was when they were really somebody else, that was a crazy experience. And speaking about business school, no business school was going to give me the education that I just received. You learn exactly how not to run a business, and I was 21 years old. So I just got a best learning education experience I'll ever have,
Right.
I was contacted by 3 different companies afterwards that basically said, we're buying the IP of that app and we're doing it and we want you to run it. And it was high 6-figure salaries, equity commissions, the most incredible offers ever. To basically just continue to replicate and do what you were doing, and just basically bring the talent over and just relaunch this under a different name, because the purpose of the whole festival was to promote this app.
So now you learn a lot from a bad experience and it takes you to the next level. How did that lead you towards creating your own brand?
How did it lead me towards creating my own brand? Again, I think it was a matter of, one, my 4 years of experience within the industry, I knew was always about understanding the scope of it, right? Then you go through an experience where you learn exactly not how to run a company. And then you go through, I guess, self-reflection of, I have all these offers on the table now. And what's actually funny? This was it. My father, he's a physical laborer. He works for his money. He's not a good investor. He's not a shrewd businessman. He physically works for his money. Why I bring it up is because I couldn't really speak to my father so much about it, right? But after that whole experience, I had these really big offers on the table, but there was something inside of me that just I didn't have a fire for it. So long story short is that I actually did speak to my father about it. I did speak to my mentors. I did do the whole look in the mirror experience, but it was my father who actually helped me make the entire decision. And he said, he's okay, take the number off of this offer. Would you do it? And I said no, instantly. It was so instant. I didn't even have to think about it. Here I am for 2 weeks thinking going through these offers, showing to attorneys, this, that, going through the whole. He's the one who helped me make that decision in a split second, It's you were just doing it for the money, but it's not about that. It's never been about that. So I said no to all those things, and then it was okay, what do you want to do? I was you want to be your own boss. What do I call it? I don't put myself in the fashion industry because I don't want to be making clothes for the rest of my life. For us, it was about a story, and for me, it was what do I know best to tell that story through a tangible product, the first being apparel, because that's what I had known best. It's a youth-inspired brand. It's about bringing the masses together. It's about bringing like-minded individuals like you and I who believe in the same thing, who stand for the same thing, who want to see the same change, who are aware of what's happening in the world around them. It's about community, which subconsciously I'm building a brand that is all about the way I was raised and didn't even realize I was doing it while I was doing it. And it's about being able to hopefully create the change and leave the world a better place than you found it. But apparel is the first vehicle in trying to do so, and people come to us because of what we stand for. So we have taken a stance against gun violence. We were the first brand to partner with March for Our Lives, which is, I believe, the leading organization in the call for gun reform. And we also believe in climate change and believe it's real and stand for it and want to do a part in trying to leave the world a safer place.
Were you thinking, I want to get these messages across to the world. You know, what was your thought process? Did that happen first, and then you said, okay, the thing I know the best is apparel?
It was February 2018. There was a mass shooting that took place in Parkland, Florida, and 17 students lost their lives, and it was probably just the cherry on top of a dozen other mass shootings that had taken place in the same year. March for Our Lives, and I said in every interview, was for me the specific inspiration where I got like that light, because then in March I started designing the first collection, and this happened in February, and in the beginning of March for Our Lives was formed by high school students. And this is a massive organization now that I've been lucky to watch grow and work with these students. And I have been talking to investors, but like when I spoke to these students, I was like my most refined self. They were just like a pure inspiration. Like, look at what these students created amidst this devastating tragedy. They just witnessed their friends literally murdered in front of them in their high school. And it just kind of like really just reignited, like, okay, look at Sammy, like what's happening in the world around you, you know what I mean? Like this is like super real, and here are these students that are like going to like be the future leaders as well, you know? So like it was really the youth that inspired me, and then also from a business perspective is like this is like the demographic that like I want to be in touch with, you know what I mean? They are the future, so I want to like create something that's youth inspired, and I want to work with these kids, and I also want to make money along the way too. That was like the moment that ignited like the concept for the brand. I put a whole plan together, I put a whole deck together, I put a whole everything that you would put, you know, as a little entrepreneur together. I knew somebody that I was close with that I knew could help put my thoughts on paper, and I went to investors and started to go through investing rounds and said this is exactly what the plan is, and this is like what I want to be able to accomplish over the next 2 years. This is the money that I'm going to need to do it, and I started doing that in April, and by the end of August I got what I needed to, but I had been kind of just funding it for like a brand. I brought on like a branding agency to work on everything from my logo to the tagline to my messaging to my packaging to everything, you know, that goes along with building a brand, going through the demographics and the different personas that we're trying to track and who these people are and what they're doing, where they're hanging out. It was a 2-month kind of branding exercise. And then I brought a web developer on. I brought a digital marketing agency on to kind of just help optimize that side and put everything in place, and got a warehouse, fulfillment, flew back and forth to LA for 4 months, going back and forth, building the product, and we launched in November of 2018.
And so each collection was tied to
an organization, a
right.
mission, a movement, a purpose. Yeah, first one being March for Our Lives.
And was your slogan from the beginning, support your friends?
Slogan of support your friends was just a personal slogan that I had throughout college. I think support your friends is something that has drawn people to the brand, and it's a message that resonates with people, but I think the beauty behind it is that you could sit here and tell me what it means to you, and I'm going to sit here and tell you that it means something entirely different, and I think that is the beauty behind it. But March for Our Lives, or for me, support your friends is about, like I said, what the brand is about. It's about bringing like-minded individuals together who believe in the same thing, who stand for the same thing. Whether you know them or you don't know them, whether you have the chance to meet them or you don't, I think just believing in those causes, whatever it may be, is enough to call you a friend, right? So that's to me what support your friends means. And March for Our Lives, I thought was a perfect embodiment of the slogan, right? Because here's students Parkland, Florida, but now you have people in Europe and across the world who are part of March for Our Lives, and they've never met, but they're
right.
part of the same organization, part of the same movement. They call each other friends, you know? So I used that as my personal definition of what the brand slogan was. I think what we have accomplished in 18 months is absolutely incredible. I think that from this like original investor deck to the one that I'm putting together now for a next raise, like to see that we not only executed on what we said we would, but we far exceeded what I thought we would be able to in this amount of time. We've done 4 full collections. We've opened 5 retail stores. The press has been incredibly well to us. We sell pretty well so far. The team has grown. We just signed an office lease, you know, like, but every day is, you know, another fire, another this, another that, and it's just cool to bring a team together that all believe in what we're doing, because that makes your job a lot easier.
Right. Where do you see Krost in the future?
The second half of 2020, even though the first half was what it was, or is what it is, we have a lot of very exciting collaborations coming out with some pretty big brands, which is super exciting. We're beginning to distribute the brand as well in the second half of 2020, which is cool. Our retail was always the best performing part of our business, so I don't know where that's going to go just yet, but I think that trying to focus online in ways that we haven't before, you know, the amount of money that we invest in retail, I would love to see what happens if we do invest that online now. So, you know, that's something that, you know, we'll make a decision as we go. But a lot of it, and even, you know, with the bigger brands now, it's like with what's happening in the world, kind of like it's a week to week, you know, plan right now, which is crazy.
What does it feel like to, you know, you really don't like guns. If I don't really like guns, you know, I could tell my family and friends I really don't like guns, and you know, maybe I could influence a few people. What does it feel like to?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not like running across the street or like running like, or I'm not even speaking. Like, I don't really even speak about it with my friends so much. I really don't. I actually use the brand as like my outlet of like kind of expressing how I really feel about things I don't really discuss with my friends. Like, I don't discuss climate change or gun reform with my family, nor do I discuss it with my friends. I really don't. I think that's why they're sometimes surprised to see me like with the brand do these things, because they never hear it from me. But it's kind of just like my personal outlet of like expressing how I personally like feel deep down about specific issues, you know?
Right.
I think I kind of have a different persona with the brand than I do with like myself.
But you know what you like?
I know what I believe and I know what I think, but it's just sometimes it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I hear, I'm a listener, but I don't speak on things that I don't know. I always put myself in the position of a student. If somebody's in a room speaking on something that I don't know, like, I'm not saying anything. A wise man once said nothing. It's just kind of my life motto, you know? I like to observe, take in, and give out my opinion, but now that we're having this conversation, I think the brand is a way of me kind of like speaking about what I actually do believe in without having to speak to people about it.
Which makes sense. And it's funny how it's easier to build an entire, like, there's so much work that goes into it, yet that's easier than just, you know, saying something at like a dinner table, you know?
Yeah, and it's from the founder, man. That's the untold thing. We got it. You did it. But yeah, it does make perfect sense. It's exactly what it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what's in what we would tackle next, to be honest. I think that as a brand, we've done a great job of raising awareness around different movements and different causes and supporting them, not only by increasing awareness, but in a financial capacity as well. But I think now, as a brand and myself, I want to really kind of put my money where my mouth is. So, you know, we have this whole back to school initiative that's going on, and it's a matter of like going into these high schools and middle schools and actually being in person and giving back in a real tangible way, as opposed to just the awareness or financial. Obviously, what we're doing still has a, you know, financial part to it. You know, we're basically, you know, going into high schools and supplying them with everything they need to be a good student, just like kind of being more like boots on the ground. So I think like gun reform, climate change, these are like, you know, global, and I think next I kind of want to see something where like you could make a real like I could see the effect that I've had on this.
What gets you out of bed in the morning?
My friends and family, really. You know what I mean? I mean, look, I built a whole brand based off of friendship. You know, it's really people. I always had this weird daydream of like being able to meet every single person in the world, just because I think everyone has such a different and unique story. But like, also there's some days I don't feel like that. You know, it's, I guess because I'm human. But I definitely want to be successful. I'm never shy about saying that. But I think there's also a part of me that wants to like get to a place where you're just super happy with like what you have and who's around you, you know?
Yeah.
And being able to share that with the right people. So I think it really is just, you know, the friends and family.
A kid in college comes to you and you can tell him one thing. What would you tell him?
Okay, you know, it's a good example that I really love. You know, Allbirds. During COVID, was contacted by Allbirds to be part of like this All Good collective. Just like a group of like-minded people have come together, and like we've been like working on different initiatives. and we had an intro call, and like we're on this Zoom with like the two founders of Allbirds and like this multi-billion-dollar company, right? And like they're just giving their whole story and everything. And it's like, if you hear how these two guys started, and now it's close to $1 billion company, right? They didn't know what the hell they were doing either. Like they also Googled like shoe manufacturer, you know? And like to me, like when I heard that, I was just like, it's amazing to hear that, like, you know? Because you think that like somebody has like some secret like sauce, you know, or ingredient as to how you go about doing something. Everyone like, you know, has to figure it out. And that to me was like where I was good. It's like you figure it out. Like in Onya, the thing I hated the most was if I didn't know how to do something, they would say Google it, and like that ticked me off so much. But now doing this, right? I don't say Google it because like I didn't like that, but I'm like, you could figure it out. Like you really could figure it out if you just like actually try and do it, you know?